Sorry about that, folks. Hello and welcome. This is Chris, the Bardic DM, accompanied as always with my co-host Josh, and this is the eventual return of the Rambling Bards Final Fantasy sub-series, delayed by health and technical issues. And unfortunately it will be the last one we do for a while, as Josh has to bow to his new corporate overlords.
The joys of Walmart. At least it's only part-time.
Yeah, even if their logo is near identical to the evil empire from Star Wars. Right, so Final Fantasy. Last we left off, we had to conclude with campaign seeds and adventure seeds. We're going to cover a trio of different options as we go. That will chiefly be the realm of Ivalice, which has been used for multiple Final Fantasy games, most recently of which would be Final Fantasy XII. Eorzea, which has been made famous in the Realm Reborn version of Final Fantasy XIV. And lastly, we'll be going over what you can do for homebrew. So, we'll start with, I would say, Eorzea, because for one, it's got the most map space available, easy to find, because you can just go and copy from the wiki the MMO's world map. So, go ahead.
This is just where I have to admit I've never even touched the MMO.
I've been tempted occasionally. Haven't done so yet, but it looks like it's a decent game. My main problem is I don't have the money for a subscription fee.
Yeah, I actually once bought it when it came with the PS4. But yeah, even then it would still require an subscription.
Yeah, well, they are providing a lot for your money. I will admit it's one of the better. From everything I've seen of MMO coverage, it's actually one of the better ones at the moment.
That's not saying much.
Yeah, it's basically. I've seen people say it's sort of top 3. The other two being Guild Wars and Elder Scrolls Online. And isn't that a shock, considering how it launched? Elder Scrolls Online would be considered one of the top 3 MMOs.
To be fair, considering how 14 started, it was much worse.
True, but they actually killed off the original version and did a reboot for 14.
True.
Which had one of the most awesome cinematics I've ever seen.
Oh, I know. I still rewatch it occasionally.
It's hard not to. I mean, By the way, folks, if you haven't watched it, go and watch the end of an era cutscene from Final Fantasy XIV, the original game. Beautiful to watch.
What was the song called? Flames of what?
The song's called Answer.
You broke up a bit, Chris. What was that?
The song is simply called Answer, or at least it is for the English version that you can find on Spotify. It's on one of the Distant Worlds CDs that you can pick up on there, or Distant Worlds albums. You can also get them on Amazon Music if you prefer to use that. So, Eorzea is fairly easy to do in some ways. It's based on an MMO, so there is effectively, an adventurer's guild. So you can start with, any group getting called together to do adventures. And, well, then you've got a few different things. I mean, there's an ongoing war from what I recall. involving a lot of magitech. There's travelling to multiple continents that have been revealed.
That they do bring them into some sort of alliance, so there's a lot of possibility for political stuff.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's all the infighting, and then there's the new stuff. And, of course, you can just steal liberally from the MMO if you want.
I was actually in a campaign like that.
Oh, yeah? What was it based on?
Yeah, just the MMOs, sadly.
Yeah.
We barely got through the start before the GM just got sick of all the homebrew stuff and just we ended up doing curses.
Yeah, I can get that. And of course, let's see. I'm just having a look over the wiki to see if there's anything of interest that would be. I mean, you've obviously got the various primals and, or whatever the proper term is.
There is also the internal debate of just technology versus magic. Plus, in this setting, it's actually have the emergence of firearms, which is always a big game changer.
Yeah, this is true. Being able to have firearms will always be interesting. And the fact they've got magitech walkers that shoot fireballs.
As they should.
Yeah. I mean, you could do any one of the expansions and have it be interesting. I mean the Heaven's Ward one with the return of dragons would be quite the campaign to deal with.
Yeah, but then there's just going to be a big fight where who's going to be playing a dragoon.
Well, yes. Unless you allow for the sub-job system and just allow everyone to take levels in dragoon.
I wanted to try the Valkyrie subclass. Dual-wielding halberds.
Oh, that'd be interesting. But there's even beyond that. I mean, you've got the various beast tribes that could be an interesting fight. That could be an interesting deal with, you know, their particular primal, and those are just normally sub-quests, but you could turn it into a whole campaign, couldn't you? I mean, they're effectively summoning a god.
Definitely.
I wouldn't want to make one of the primals a weak fight. I mean, within the context of the MMO, they're normally raid bosses, so, you know, putting something like that as an opponent in a normal campaign would be, ooh, that should at least be a level 20 encounter.
Or if we want to do an epic level campaign, we could make them the entire focus of it.
This is true.
Yeah, just looking at they do have at least the primal creatures stated, so like Titans at CR15.
That seems kind of understated for the guy who can create earthquakes with a single step.
To be fair, remember how bad the classes are.
This is true. Yeah, if anything, that means they should have even more busted mechanics for the monsters.
Mm-hmm. And even then, they could have. There's all the templates you could bring over.
This is true. I'm just thinking of all the different area denial you could do with something like Titan, if nothing else. I mean, I'd have him shifting the earth about all over the place just to mess with people.
That's always how, if you want to be a real dick to your players, how to actually do it.
Yeah. Or just have him have an at-will create pit ability.
True.
I've seen how disruptive create pit can be in a recent game I was in. Oh, being the archer in that situation was not fun. Just because create pit under the main bad guy, it's like, great, now I can't shoot at the main bad guy.
Well, that's why you just gotta rush up to the edge.
Yeah, apart from... Yeah, it was just a very odd situation to be in, I will say that much. They've got Garuda that'll... Oh, Garuda could be really interesting as well as an opponent. For some reason, they have both Ramu and Odin in Final Fantasy XIV. That makes no sense to me. Why do you need 2 lightning primals?
People probably just started complaining.
Makes no sense to me. I can think of so many better ones that would have been in there. I mean, Diablo. I wonder if they're ever going to bring in Diabolos. That'd be an interesting one. I know they redid Alexander in this as a giant mech fortress. That'd be another interesting campaign, wouldn't it? Fight the palace-sized mech as the end of your campaign.
We just turn him into we just use him as a base and just use the aggro to drive him around.
Yeah. Well, trying to conquer it'd be one heck of a trick, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's gonna be the same considering what creatures will be stupid enough to try and live.
Yeah. Oh, there's... Well, if I was going to make an interesting guess for one... What is it?
Doom Train.
Hadn't thought of that, but that's another one. Although for that you really would need the traditional broken Pathfinder grapple rules, rather than the revised ones. Because someone must be able to suplex Doom Train.
Enough enlarged person spells will do enough.
Yeah, it's... Oh, that has still got to be one of... Well, you can't kill... I mean, even if you're a GM who likes a serious game, you cannot kill that meme in a Final Fantasy game.
It's one of the few ones I actually enjoy.
Yeah, or... I was actually thinking, until I remembered that this is 14, I was thinking that, another clash with Bahamut could be interesting, apart from at the power level you have to set him out, that just isn't feasible.
Suddenly we each turn to an elder god.
Well, he was, basically. He was a world killer.
Oh, I know, but we still need an elder god to kill him.
Not sure that'd work. And I'm not sure...
Maybe just for the one.
Not to mention... Bahamut would be a nasty fight. I mean, his attacks are non-elemental, so I'm not sure if you do it as force damage or what. And Carbon, I'm guessing that's something about not killing memes? Or the meme police or something like that? In chat?
If only you could use it more often.
Yeah, it's no bother. But, so apart from that, as I say, Diabolos would be a good one to have in, just because you are summoning Final Fantasy's equivalent of the devil. Wouldn't be surprised if he's featured in the next expansion, actually, for Final Fantasy XIV, where they're finally introducing the Blue Mage.
Took them long enough.
Yeah, well,
1 second.
No problem. Let's see.
Sorry about that.
No problem, man.
It was finally the time to make cookies, so.
Yeah, food will trump most things, I've always found. Particularly good cookies. So, there's the paths of the primals, the potential of Alexander.
I could also maybe picture something like maybe some sort of quest line sitting around like the Knights of the Round.
Yeah, true. Don't think they've actually. I'm not sure if they've actually made them a canon appearance in Final Fantasy XIV yet, but they've got to at some point. And if not, well, fudge it. It's what DMs do most of the time.
Yep, no, they're primal in 14. In Heaven's Word.
Oh right, cool. So yeah, that'd definitely be something. Oh, Knights of the most broken summon in most Final Fantasy games. I think the only one it hasn't appeared in is 12.
The only nerf there for them is just how long it takes to launch them.
Yeah, and that's more of a case of, dear God, do I have enough time to launch this attack before I have to log off?
Actually, they're not too often. I just pulled them up on the FF Wiki. Their only main series appearances are in 7 of 14, and at least to an extent, 15.
To an extent would be an understatement. They're kind of the key to the plot.
Yeah, but we only see them like 3 times in the game.
Slightly more with the revised edition now that they've got all the updates out.
Yeah.
Because they spoilers for later in Final Fantasy 15 for anyone who doesn't want to hear it. Apparently, in the new revision, you actually have to fight corrupted versions of several of them that have been summoned by Arden. Speaking of which, screw Arden. Can't believe they've actually decided to make an episode where you play as him.
I know. Give me something like Luna, or I can't remember the name, the Dragoon Woman, instead.
Aranea. They were planned. They've now been cancelled.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I just wish that was the last one that we got.
Yeah. But apart from that, for 14, I could maybe see a campaign around either quest unintentionally being made to complete the Ultima weapon, and then having to take it down.
That would be interesting.
Or else being set on some quest by Gilgamesh.
This is pretty much all original idea, just a random thought I had. I could picture something sort of like your characters were sort of like summons, which way they got their sort of powers. Like they're like a group, something like Knights of the Rounds, but they suddenly broken free of it. They're basically summons on the loose.
That could be interesting.
I thought so. It was just a random thought I had.
Yeah. You could also use some of the less used and slightly more odd summons for potential stories. I mean, Final Fantasy X's Yojimbo springs to mind. He'd make an interesting boss fight if nothing else. But so I'd say beyond that, I'd say that's pretty much covers it for Eorzea. So, shall we switch to Ivalice?
Yep, let's go ahead.
Okay, just let me remind myself of which games Ivalice has been used for. Oh, it's been used as it's a recurring world. Yeah, I knew that much.
12 tactics.
Huh, I thought it was more than that, but oh, and there's a bit apparently in as part of the Stormblood where you can travel to it. But at least you've got plenty of options with the various tactics stuff to give you inspiration for different countries and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Well, depends on where you want to set it. I mean, you could easily set it in Zanarkand because not Zanarkand, that's Final Fantasy X.
Yep.
I'm having one of those days apparently.
You know, the players will at least the male players will probably gravitate towards wherever the beer.
Yes, well, at least some of them will anyway. Ravenasta, that's it, I think.
I'm not butcher. You've pretty much been going over the games. I've barely touched.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, it's fine.
Well, I suppose we... I mean... Yeah, let's see. I mean, from the Final Fantasy... Oh, Dalmasca, sorry. Rabanastre was the capital, that was it. So, as I can see, you've got 4 real options that I can remember. You've got the Arcadian Empire, the Rosarian Empire, Dalmasca, Nebradia, and then, of course, the various floating island nations.
Or anywhere if they decide to be Sky Pirate.
Well, yes. And that's pretty much almost a guarantee in any Final Fantasy setting. There will be somebody who wants to do a Sky Pirates campaign.
Can you really blame them?
No, not at all. It's awesome. So, from a Sky Pirates campaign idea, I could see you doing it one of 2 ways. You could either do it sort of a Cowboy Bebop Firefly style, where it's literally a very episodic sort of thing, which would be fun in and of itself, really, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Or you could do the classic of, yeah, you picked up a treasure. It's far more important to someone far more dangerous than you expected it to be.
And then it's gonna, of course, do something like bind itself to one of the players, so they can't get rid of it.
Either that, or you could go sort of Outlaw Star, Firefly, and have it be a person.
Yeah, true. But then it's gonna have to be, you gotta be careful with it, because otherwise you're gonna have to be one of the players. It's gonna be some debates about being the special or the NPC getting all the spots.
Yeah, this is true. You could do it sort of like that and have one of the characters be linked to the special NPC and have the special NPC be comatose.
That could work. I've tried to watch Outlaw Star like 3 times. I keep stopping for some reason.
It is a good show. I can understand that it's a bit hard to get into in some ways, but it is a really good show.
Yeah, that's what I always keep hearing. I'm currently trying to watch that and Claymore.
Never watched Claymore myself, but I will say, I think I have the advantage that science fantasy as a combo is something I'm a really big fan of.
No, same.
Yeah, so you should like it. I mean, there's some episodes that are weirder than others, but if nothing else, admittedly it doesn't have as much payoff if you don't watch it all, but watching the finale is blooming fantastic.
I'll have to get back to it.
Yeah. Scary to think that Trigun and Bebop all came out in sort of a year of each other.
Oh, the golden age.
Yeah. Almost feel sorry for the other producers at the time, though.
Considering about 90% of it is gore, it's just gore, and the other half is smut. I think I would have felt.
That's more what came over to the States and the UK, but there was a lot more. But the thing is, Bebop wasn't popular in Japan.
Yep. Too American.
Yep. Well, that aside, if you were going to do that, you'd probably have to tie it into the same ancient culture that created the various summons. Which gets into a whole different mess of stuff. You could also you could also play, monster hunters, considering there is actually a bounty hunting guild in the setting, whose whole job is travelling around the world hunting monsters.
Yeah, but that seems way too limited to just combat. Well,
wouldn't have to be just combat, but because you could have all sorts of stories, sort of emerge around them. What's causing the monster, what else is happening, what you could get involved in. But it'd be an interesting start, at least.
That's fair.
Sort of, yes, we went on this monster hunting mission, and oh, whoops, we just stumbled into something way bigger than we were expecting to.
What?
Oh, it could be anything for... prime example I can think of would be doing it like number 12. Yeah, you just stumbled upon this girl who's running away, and oh, she's actually a member of the rebellion against the Arcadian Empire. Guess what? The guards have seen you with her. Doesn't matter that you aren't involved. You are tarred with the same brush. Now you've got to get your collective arses out of the country.
I've always wanted to do a campaign where players were really on the run from something.
If you ever get the chance, the Iron Fang Adventure Path from Paizo's pretty good for that.
Yeah, I can't stand adventure paths.
That one's pretty open.
I just have way too much experience with it. It's either I got to do something completely by how the story wants it, or it could get completely screwed over by something that slightly stumbled onto the wrong.
Oh yeah, I can get that completely. Oh, found out why the module that you're supposed to get with the Kingmaker game, with how I ordered it, is taking so long.
What is it?
Oh, the module's over 600 pages.
Okay, that doesn't seem to...
You'd think they'd have mentioned that sooner, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you can't really blame them then.
No, it's sort of... Dudes, had you mentioned that it was a 600-page behemoth, we'd have been a lot more understanding over the time delay.
Yeah.
Took them nearly 3 months to tell
their brains
people
were
that.
also...
Oh. Just shy of 3 months and 6 pages of complaints.
Is that game getting any better?
I haven't been back to it yet.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way, there are still too many constant postings in the bug thread.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so here's hoping the module is good.
They need something to improve for the game.
Yeah, and they've already Funny thing is, they've already released the first DLC.
Oh, what was it?
Added the Tiefling race as an option, and the Kineticist class as an option.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Seriously, one of the most popular races is DLC, and then of all the classes, you get that.
Could be worse. There are bound to be classes that are less useful to the current content, to the adventure as it's set up. It could have been put in. Biggest one I can think of would be the Investigator. I mean, I love the class, but as combat focused as most of the Kingmaker video game is, would not have done it favours.
Fair. I was gone for maybe something like Oracle.
Yeah. So, back on topic. So apart from the monster hunting and the sky pirates, I could honestly...
all the Empire's probably some sort of like open rebellion campaign.
Well, yeah, that would be a different... You could do that as a different take on the Final Fantasy D20 main storyline in some ways. Because there, obviously, it's solved by the party, but far more realistically, you would have to build up an actual rebellion.
Absolutely.
Because, of course, the party can solve its Final Fantasy, but more realistically, you would have to spend time building up a massive alliance, and that could be really fun.
True. Especially with all the races.
well, not just the races, but also, all the different resources you've got to gather. I mean, there's potential of gathering the various summons and, magicite, this magically rich mineral that, powers all the sky ships and pretty much everything else. There could be lots of fun with that. There's dealing with the... I mean, recruiting the Viera would be a blooming nightmare, that's for sure.
Constantly dealing with the judge.
Yeah, the judges would be, yeah. Oh, the amount of time you'd have to spend... Until you got your own skyship, though, the amount of time you'd have to spend tracking in the desert.
Yeah, we may need to mess with at least geography of the world a bit.
Either that, or you could just allow a bit more options for teleportation and stuff.
True.
Well, to be fair, there were supposed to be, regular... In the game, there were regular, skyship ferries. So
I didn't get to that point.
I mean, it'd be a small cost, but it'd be better than travelling through the desert constantly.
True.
Not to mention it has its own potential for, encounters with sky pirates.
That would have to be a pretty high-powered campaign.
Well, if it's Final Fantasy D20, it's going to be high-powered.
True. I've been in a game. I'm a second-level wizard in it. The campaign's so high-powered, I've already got a Cape of the Mount block, so what's per dimension door, and a indestructible bag of holding that has an infinite amount of space that can't be punctured.
Yeah, that's just the DM going, yeah, I don't want to have to bother with encumbrance rules.
True. It counts as arcane focus up to for spells that cost up to 50.
Oh, 50 GP, yeah. Huh. Dude, I think I'm losing you a bit.
I'll exit and re-enter the call.
Okay. Sorry about this, folks. Gotta love Discord.
Any better?
Yeah, sounds better.
Yeah, maybe part of my problem is I need to make sure I keep my voice up.
Yeah, quite possibly. Although I think there is a way to fix that, but we can look at that later.
Yeah, but I've already got my mic pretty close, at least as close as it can be with my keyboard.
Not that, it's in your actual speech it's in your user settings. Under voice and video.
We can go over it after this.
Yeah.
Alright. Any more on Ivalice or homebrew?
Those are the main ones I can think of for Ivalice, unless you wanted to try doing a military campaign for, either Rosarian or Arcadian Empire.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, homebrew. I'm going to go with one of the most obvious ones first. It's a true classic of Final Fantasy. Searching for the temples of the four elements.
Do I need to get a Pro Jared clip in here?
Yeah, I know, and yes, that is what I was thinking. It's a JRPG staple for a reason.
Yeah, but those fetch campaign ideas never go well.
True. I think part of the main reason I thought of it is because I found on Roll20 recently a guy who makes map tiles. It's the one I use for most of my stuff in Seekers, and he's got 4 elemental temples.
If you want to sell up that guy, go ahead, but I don't think we need to give him entire campaign.
Nah, I wouldn't be using it for an entire campaign, but I was just thinking it would be if you're going to do it and you want an easy one that you can do without having to really rack your brain if you're a new GM, then doing the 4 elemental temples and the final quest to prevent the darkness could be quite the classic.
True.
Particularly, not to mention the amount of fun you could have subverting it along the way.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Oh boy, I remember this one D&D story I saw. The guy was doing exactly that just for campaign sitting.
Yeah.
You roll for in this counter table constantly. You constantly have the party fight the same 3 bandits it's multiple times every session as they moved. The same static characters. Of course, they killed the bandits, but
Yeah.
he kept trying to do giant, massive encounters with like 100 characters. But what he'd he'd make the players sit through. He'd roll initiative and have each character, every one of them, statted, each with their own initiative.
God. You see, suddenly my siege from a few sessions ago doesn't seem so bad anymore to me.
Yeah, they're still a lot worse.
Oh, that's evil.
Yeah. Then at the end, at least when the players gave up, he was basically brought in 200 UNT. He tried to start doing it, even though the players warned him. He said they just started walking away. And he just kept calling back to them, going, "Wait, I can do this. He still was rolling at the same.
Oh God, dude, you need to learn when to give up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. So, again, I mean, we could go into more detail on what you could do with. Obviously, again, Final Fantasy. So, again, there's the option of doing sky pirates, but we've already covered that in some detail.
Mm-hmm. I think we need to focus a bit more of the world first before we start problems. Like, are we doing classic sort of Final Fantasy where medieval? Are we doing the more modern stuff on 15? Are we doing steampunk like 7?
I would say if we were going to rip from a world, I would say probably take influence from a combination of 7 and 15.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Because 15 is in some ways a more realistic setting. But I think you could take a lot more elements from Final Fantasy VII, bolt them on, and make it feel more Final Fantasy in some ways.
Yeah, make it a bit dirty, a bit more grungy.
Not necessarily even grungy, just for one thing, you ditch the whole demons come out and attack anywhere that doesn't have electronic lights at night element that Final Fantasy 15 had.
Yeah, fair.
I get it, and it was actually an interesting idea, the whole making the day-night cycle tune to the difficulty of the encounters.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
I need to hit push to talk.
But if you do it with just, general monsters and, being a naturally occurring part of the world instead, like you would with Final Fantasy VII, not to mention the inclusion of materia, you allow for more varied population density, and rather than just, a few select areas, which I think was part of the problem for 15. I enjoyed the world, I really enjoyed 15, but, it being so far in between places where you could actually just stop and take a break.
Agreed. We'd definitely have to really rework materia. Maybe give it like a few spell like abilities once a few times per day, or make it like weapon crystals from 3.5, or just buffs.
Yeah, I could see that. Probably have to decide we'd also have to pick which summons whether we were going to use other beings or, the summons as deities. I'd personally go for the summons, and then maybe have their avatars take and then have any summon that you can get be an actual avatar of them.
That sounds good.
So that's again taking from 15 with the whole astrals thing. Which I actually thought was one of the better qualities, making the summons actually that important to the world and all that.
Yeah, that was a really nice touch, I think.
Yeah.
Heck, they're so powerful, they may as well.
True. Yeah, I remember first time I summoned Ramu in 15. Yeesh. Or, just the devastation that Leviathan causes.
Oh, that scene was incredible.
Yeah.
All that, I'll bet.
That was terrifying, incredible, and woof. Then again, the entire bit around, was it Altissia?
Yes.
That city itself, just the introduction to it, was beautiful.
Yeah, that whole bit was really good.
Yeah. And then after that, you have to go and deal with thankfully, the only Marlborough in the game.
Thank God.
Yeah, I would not want.
But then they followed that with the whole stealth section, at least when I played it.
Yeah, they've revived that, thankfully.
Oh, I know, but that wasn't in time to enjoy that.
No, I played through it with the stealth section as well. I hated it. Right up until I got the sword back, and it was like, yes, finally, I've got a weapon.
Oh, that was such a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it only took me a couple of tries, but oof. What I found funny was Arden kept trying to taunt you after you picked up a weapon. But like, don't care what you've got to say anymore, you smug git. I've got a sword, and your boys are going to get munched. But
go ahead.
For another campaign option, I could maybe see, ripping from one of my own campaigns, trying to stop somebody from unlocking the powers of a dark god. Depending on how you wanted people to get involved with that. Again, I'd probably tie that to Diabolos. Or maybe Anima from 10.
Not about that.
I mean, Diabolos is the classic, but Anima was one of the scariest things I've ever seen come out of a Final Fantasy. Well, save for Seymour himself, who was just a pain in the arse.
Boy, I was playing through 10. I got through his snowtop cliffside fight.
Yeah.
I only then realized all the holy stuff. I realized I was doing so badly I'd have to go back and get all this stuff, but I did not have the patience to bother with all of that.
Yeah. I was kind of lucky I'd leveled Una up quite high. So she had quite a lot of white magic to spare.
It seemed like that was it was just like you're just gonna keep up for whenever I tried doing it.
Yeah, but I mean, I did lose to him a couple of times. What I think, if I remember correctly, because it's been years since I played 10, what actually sealed it was I got Una with her overdrive, and I had Bahamut with a full overdrive and used her to summon it, so I got to pull off a double Bahamut overdrive.
Nice.
Hey, if they're going to throw that kind of cheap stuff my way, I'm going to throw it right back at them with a double-barreled Mega Flare.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
And the worrying thing is, he's supposed to come back again at some point with an even more annoying fight.
Ugh.
I mean, I know he's not the end boss or even close to it, but dear God, he's got to be the most annoying and persistent enemy in Final Fantasy history, apart from maybe Kefka.
For me, it's so stupid. They know he's unsent.
Yeah.
Just send him already.
Yeah, but whether he's... I suppose you can technically... Supposedly you can resist and all that, particularly with how he is.
Yeah, but Yuna doesn't even try.
Plot convenience. See. Beyond those, I mean, you could rip straight from some classics of D&D. Do a whole Rise of the Dragons and Rise of Tiamat, because I'm fairly sure Tiamat's been a summon in at least one Final Fantasy game, and if not, it's not like she wouldn't fit in. although she would have to be very different to the normal one, considering all the different ways they've retooled dragons in this game.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, she's been around quite a bit. I just opened up her page in the wiki.
Alright. Huh.
Yeah. 1, 2, 4, 8, 9, 11, 12, Revenant.
Yeah, so
13, 14,
lot,
tactics.
So yeah, you could easily use her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So she's originally a water dragon by the looks of it.
We'd have to rename her, otherwise it'd just get way too annoying with her.
This is true. Oh yeah, I forgot about her in 12. She was a real pain in the ass to fight. Maybe use one of the other big bad dragon names from Final Fantasy.
Any of the dozen Bahamut's?
Well, yes, but I was meaning one of the... I'm trying to remember some of the other big bad dragons that they've had. You could use the ultimate mark from Final Fantasy 12 and use the Yazmat. Oof, that thing was nasty. Never got to play against it, but it was ridiculous. I'm not sure how you convert down the 3.7 million health it had in game.
At least you are trying to convert down, like, what is it that giant sphere from like 12 that has like several billion HP.
Well, this is supposedly the ultimate boss from that, but oh no, wait, sorry, that's the reduced version. I'll have to see what it's proper. 50 million is its proper health, sorry, for Yazmat. 3.7 was in the was the trial mode version. So that was for when you were playing in a continuous tournament setup. On the 98th of 100 rounds. Ugh.
I can't believe the idiots who would actually go through and do things like that.
It's not as bad as the Adamantoise from Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, I love 15. Even I wasn't stupid enough to bother with that.
I have been tempted. But yeah,
oh,
I've
man,
not actually gone for it yet, considering it takes, what, 24 hours?
Actually, hold on. Actually, you keep going, but I know something I need to show you now. I remember a video where a guy managed to cheese it with a ring and basically banish him, or whatever that ability was.
Oh, the death ability from the Ring of Lucis.
Yep, he managed to cheese it and get Adamantoise killed with that.
Oh, that's classic. Oh. Adamantoise would be one... That'd be another thing if you were ever to encounter it in a D&D game. You would have to make it into a shield, wouldn't you?
I question the sanity of anyone who didn't.
Yep. Oh boy. I've just read how much health it has in 15. 5,624,000. So not as bad as Yazmat, but at the same time different because different mechanics.
Oh, I remember some fights in 15 were just me throwing at them, getting KO'd in one shot, and just spamming the potion.
Oh yeah, same. Amount of fights I had to avoid in the final city. Just because they had like 20 levels on me.
Yeah, I remember, I think I got cornered by Naga and I think Yojimbo when I was running.
Yeah. Or one of those blasted 6-arm themed things.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Oh, remember the fight with that samurai guy in the cave?
Yeah. Oh, that got even funnier for me, because first time I encountered him, it was by accident when I'd missed something and thought you had to explore the mines early, so I encountered him when I was like level 15. Squish! Oh, total party wipe in 5 seconds. Oh. That'd be another one you could do if we're doing Final Fantasy as well for a campaign. I hate to pull a classic and a trope one. Right.
But that won't stop you.
Yeah. And thanks for the warning, Carbon, but at least you can hear us alright. I was thinking, well, when in doubt, go for a classic and go for the Seven Samurai. And see where it goes from there.
True.
It's not like there isn't lots of places you can go from defending a village against a load of bandits.
Yeah, but that's when you just do something like have the bandits working for someone bigger.
Oh yeah, that's what I was meaning. Or were the bandits looking for something in particular that they couldn't find? That happens to be given to you as a reward, so now you've got the price on your head.
Yeah, thanks. You solve the problem now. You can have the problem.
Yeah. Whether the village actually knows that that's what they were looking for or not is a different matter entirely.
They're just gonna have a bard as the mayor. Well, at least unknowingly have a bard as the mayor.
Yeah. Oh. And depending on whether you want to have, evil empires or not in the setting, you could also go for a Spartacus story. Doing the whole organised rebellion.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I was in a Spartacus-style game once in Forgotten Realms. That's what I think I told you about this guy, the Tiefling Wilder / Shell Knight that just completely ruined.
Oh yeah, I think I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, broken if I remember. I can't remember if he was broken or just annoying. I know it.
No, he was completely and utterly useless. He had level adjustment because he was a tiefling, which I didn't realize was a thing until after I made him. I gave him a level of Wilder just because I thought that might be fun, but they didn't like it. Then I gave him a little soul knife, so basically he was a level behind in 3 levels and he had 0 base attack bonus.
Oh, ouch.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't think tieflings did have a level adjustment back.
Nope, they did, alongside SMRs.
Oh, then again, I was never a fan of level adjustments in the first place. One thing I'm glad
Agreed.
Pathfinder got rid of.
Agreed. Especially when that's back when games generally, all the races generally had more penalties than they had bonuses.
Yeah. I mean, there were some cases where I could get it, like, if you were playing a Drow Noble, I could sort of get you being a level or 2 behind.
Mm-hmm.
Just considering how much... I mean, Drow Nobles used to in some ways be tougher than they are now in Pathfinder. They got so much stuff. Oh.
I've never, at least I think I've seen it banned so many times, I don't think I've ever actually seen anyone actually try to apply as a Drow Noble.
Yeah, that's because it's kind of hard to explain.
Mm-hmm. Then immediately an hour after this ends, we get a Drow Noble in the campaign we're advertising for.
Oh, wouldn't surprise me.
Then they just make something like an Oracle, which is something they can actually rather easily justify going through the surface.
Yeah, true. Well, you don't even have to do that. In Tal'Dorei, there's actually a group of, like Alia used. There's a group of Drow taking refuge in the Wood Elf city. They've actually been there for multiple generations.
True.
So, whether they'd have all the innate tricks of a Drow Noble is a different matter, but
players will find an excuse.
Yeah. But I was just meaning that, it's not as hard with Tal'Darai as it is with other things.
Yeah, that's nice at least.
Probably designed that way by Matt Mercer because he knew how many people want to play Drow.
They all have panthers and scimitars.
Or badass paladins, as in Alia's case.
Oh, I'm so glad I'm able to play with her again.
Yeah.
Just let's share this on the air, just because it's.
Saturday's one of her busy days. Because I remember asking her before I opened the listing.
Yeah. Oh, and just so Carmen can hear this bit, she's playing I'm in a game with her. It's a 5th edition of Gestalt campaign. She is a wild mage sorcerer / life domain cleric. She's already got a wisdom score of 20.
Oh God.
Or level 3.
Yeah, and you're playing your Berserker Paladin, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah. Path of the Ancients Path of the Ancients Paladin, Path of the Berserker Barbarian.
Yeah, that is filth. Hilarious, but absolute filth.
We've also got a Sacred Kin Barbarian who's basically just an unarmed barbarian. Yeah. He has these brass knuckles. There's basically just iron bars strapped to his hand.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So what's he mixed with?
Fighter.
Ouch.
Mm-hmm. He gets all the attacks of a fighter, and he's basically dual wielding his own fist.
And wasn't it Xander who was playing like a druid monk or something like that?
No, different one. He's currently a gunslinger fighter / scout rogue. He's converting his character after his artificer class sucked.
Oh right. Yeah, because he was playing a Loxodon, wasn't he?
Yep, he still is.
Yes, and I was so disappointed he wasn't. And yeah, still can't kill Aaron though, but quite possibly Carbon. But as I was going to say, the Loxodon, I'm still disappointed it isn't using an elephant gun.
Oh, we've made the joke enough for him. It's still big enough to be one.
Oh yeah, but
oh, and the backstory for the barbarian fighter. He was a circus. He and his sister worked in a circus. She was the lion tamer, and he was the polymorph lion.
That'll do it.
Mm-hmm. The sister is a warlock, hexblade warlock. Hexblade warlock rogue, and the last person is a archlich patron warlock and pyromaniac sorcerer. So she's just a bright ball of sun.
No, I didn't. Do you want me to bring it up, Carbon, before we go? He's just reminded me of the spell he swapped out for the death domain.
Oh, what did he get?
Well, he doesn't want to raise undead, so he's using his third level spell. His third level domain spell is Deadly Juggernaut. More he kills, harder he gets. The more he kills, tougher he gets, rather, and yeah. Scary thing to deal with. Thankfully, it kind of peters off at upper levels. Thankfully.
Yeah. At least until he's surrounded with undead.
Yeah, but I already knew that was going to happen. In heck, I've already got some plans for Aaron's upgrades as they go that are going to be thoroughly terrifying.
I can't wait to see them and what you end up giving Eris. At this point, he may not even need anything.
Well, Aris will be a thoroughly terrifying sod in his own right, and will probably be the hardest one to kill in the group before the end of the campaign.
Oh yeah, I'm getting improved evasion. I think I'm also getting the I don't remember what it's called, but it's basically the one where you make a reflex save if you get hit by attack and reduce you to negative hit points and can ignore.
Oh yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. be dealing with a party of monsters. And it's going to be hilarious.
Oh, and I just got a debilitating injury, which I'm like, I'll actually remember to use.
To be fair, Anya was more bothered about bleeding than she was debilitating.
I'm getting that too, but...
Yeah, later levels. Oh god, you're going to be making people bleed with shadows.
Well, I just do the whole step rot thing. I slash you once, so you get cut a dozen times.
Oh, wouldn't surprise me. You will be the first. You will be a Western anime hero.
My Fang Saber suddenly transformed with the katanas.
Yeah, of course, and well, we'd already confirmed it, but yeah, but he also picked up Undeath to Undeath to Death at 6th and Orb of the Void at 8th. Yeah, Undead at 6, when you can cast 6 level spells, are basically going to be going. Oh. Then again, by that point, Aaron's probably going to have an aura that wipes them out anyway. Right, that's going to be it for tonight, folks. We'll be hope you've enjoyed. We will be taking a break for a little while, as I mentioned at the start of the show, because Josh has to deal with his corporate overlords and their intermittent timing.
Yeah, I get scheduling. Won't miss this too much since I get most of the week off. I'm still doing little shifts otherwise, but I just gotta work, so I may be okay. But we'll just have to see from now on.
Yeah, we'll give it a couple of weeks at least so you can get into a rhythm, because I know I was not in a fit state to do much when I first started at the post office.
Yeah, because Walmart's version of part-time is basically, you do full shifts, but you're only working a couple days per week instead of spacing it.
Of course. Otherwise it would be fair treatment of workers.
Mm-hmm.
Right, well,
I'm so glad I have to shoot padding, but otherwise, like Chris is saying, night everyone.
Night, take care guys.